truth behind the tell-alls. Why Tamron Hall deserved better. All right, let's take a moment to really unpack what's been happening with Sister Wives. Because after the most recent season and the way the tell-alls have gone down, something doesn't sit right. Specifically, I've been thinking about what happened to Tamron Hall and how her departure from the show speaks volumes about the direction this franchise is heading. Tamron Hall, an Emmy-winning journalist, came in with professionalism, curiosity, and a genuine desire to ask the kinds of questions fans have been waiting to hear for years. And instead of being celebrated for it, she was allegedly shown the door. Why? Because she actually did her job. That's not just disappointing. It's telling. When honesty becomes too much. Tamron didn't come in swinging. She came in with poise and respect for both the cast and the viewers. She asked follow-up questions. She pressed when the answers didn't add up. She didn't accept surface-level statements. She pushed for clarity. And in doing so, she represented the audience, the people who've been invested in this show for over a decade. But apparently, that level of directness was too much. Her removal from the tell-all wasn't just a personnel change. It symbolized a shift in the show's priorities. From truth to comfort, from transparency to control. And that shift has consequences. What the tell-alls have become. Once upon a time, the tell-alls were the highlight of the season. They were an opportunity to go deeper, to hear the cast reflect honestly on what happened and what it all meant. Now, they feel like extended therapy sessions where the real questions are avoided in favor of vague metaphors and carefully rehearsed responses. They stopped being tell-alls. They've become tell-somethings, and sometimes tell-nothings. Instead of walking away with answers, fans are left with more questions. Instead of meaningful conversation, we get emotional monologues and clip montages. The show has shifted from reality to a carefully staged presentation of feelings, without much substance behind them. Tamron versus the couch. A tale of two mindsets. Let's compare. Tamron Hall came prepared. She did her research, showed up professionally, and treated the audience with intelligence and care. She expected the same from the cast. Meanwhile, what did we get from some of the key players, especially Kody? Long-winded explanations, shifting narratives, and emotionally charged speeches about betrayal, fairness, and being misunderstood, often without really answering the question that was asked. When asked to speak clearly about decisions, accountability, or relationships, the responses often spiraled into emotional detours. It's not about judging feelings. Everyone has a right to their emotions. But when you're part of a reality show, especially one with a dedicated following, it's not unreasonable to expect honesty and directness. Reality TV requires reality. Here's the core issue. If you sign up to share your life on reality television, then being asked real questions is part of the job. If you're receiving a paycheck to be on camera, there should be a basic expectation of openness. When that expectation is met with defensiveness or refusal, it's not just frustrating, it's unfair to the viewers. By asking thoughtful, respectful, but firm questions, Tamron Hall was honoring the contract between the show and its audience. She wasn't mean. She wasn't confrontational. She was simply unwilling to accept half answers or evasions. In return, she was let go. And the message to viewers was clear: comfort over clarity. Respect the audience. Let's be real. Fans of Sister Wives are not asking for gossip or cheap drama. They're asking for truth, for growth, for emotional accountability, for insight into how a complex, plural family navigates faith, love, loss, and change. Tamron understood that. She treated viewers like adults capable of handling real conversation. And that's why her presence was so important. and why her removal feels like such a loss. Meanwhile, when cast members appear disengaged, evasive, or unwilling to answer direct questions, it erodes trust. You can't be part of a public show and expect full privacy. And you certainly can't present one narrative for the cameras while rejecting the questions that challenge it. That's not storytelling. That's spin. A message to the cast. If being asked about your choices and your relationships feels too intrusive, then maybe it's time to reconsider whether reality TV is still the right platform. No one is saying you don't deserve privacy, but when you continue to participate in a long-running show, that participation comes to stay. Show up, bring your full self, answer with integrity. Respect the viewers the way Tamron did. Because people are tuning in not just for entertainment, but for connection, for truth, and for stories that feel real. And if you can't offer that anymore, it's okay to step back. But don't stay and treat tough questions like a personal attack. Why Tamron still matters. Tamron Hall reminded us what real journalism looks like, even on reality TV. She came with insight, empathy, and strength. She didn't sensationalize. She didn't pander. She simply did the job, one the viewers have been hoping someone would do for years. That's why her removal stings. Because it sends a message that reality TV is only interested in controlled narratives, not real truth. And fans? They're smarter than that. They see the difference. So to Tamron Hall, we thank you. For showing up, for pushing through the noise, and for standing firm in your professionalism. Final thoughts. What do fans deserve? Let's turn this into a conversation. Are you tired of these so-called tell-alls that don't actually reveal much? Do you miss the days when someone like Tamron Hall could ask real questions without fear of backlash? Do you want the cast to treat this show not just as a paycheck, but as a responsibility? If any other job was treated the way some of these cast members treat their time on camera, there would be consequences. Fans are loyal, but they're not endlessly patient. So here's the bottom line. If Sister Wives wants to move forward, it needs to do so with transparency and care. That means letting interviewers do their job, letting cast members speak freely, or take a break if they can't, and letting the audience feel seen. Because the viewers, they've stuck around through everything, and they deserve more than vague answers and overproduced montages. Let's hope the future of the show looks more like Tamron Hall, and less like another Tamron Hall reveals everything wrong with the tell-alls. This Sister Wives saga has always been layered. Family dynamics, faith, betrayal, and the unraveling of plural marriage in real time. But as season 19 begins to fizzle into speculation about spin-offs and new beginnings, there's one moment in recent memory that truly captured the soul of the show and what it could have been. Tamron Hall's brief stint as host of the Tell-All. She came in sharp, poised, and professional, and then just as quickly, she was gone. No dramatic farewell, no official statement, just gone. Replaced by softer interviews, rehearsed answers, and a lingering sense that something real had been scrubbed away. And that right there is the problem. A host who refused to read from the script. Tamron Hall didn't just host a tell-all. She interrogated the truth. While past specials tended to coddle the cast, leaning into vague therapy speak and evasive reminiscing, Tamron walked into the room and asked what everyone at home had been screaming at their screens for years. What really happened? She pushed Kody on his contradictions. She asked Robyn to address her perceived favoritism. She gave Mary space to tell her truth, without rushing to move on. And for a moment, viewers felt something rare in reality television: accountability. But apparently, asking real questions was too much for the comfort zone of a show, now more focused on curated damage control than truth-telling. The silence following Tamron's departure speaks volumes. Her absence from future tell-alls wasn't just a quiet casting decision. It was a warning sign. This isn't about the truth anymore. This is about the story they want us to believe. From tell-all to tell-nothing. Let's be honest, the tell-alls have lost their purpose. What's a place to unpack the drama and let cast members confront the consequences of their actions? These specials have devolved into what feels more like image rehabilitation. The stakes, gone. The emotion, rehearsed. The truth, compromised. We've gone from hard-hitting questions to how did that make you feel? And vague poetic monologues from Kody that never quite answer the question asked. The showrunners claim to want rawness, but the moment a host delivers it, the tone shifts. Tamron didn't play along with the narrative. She didn't sugarcoat Kody's contradictions or let Robyn cry her way out of every question. She asked what viewers wanted to know, not just what the cast was willing to share. And when she didn't fit the mold of a safe moderator, she was quietly replaced. A reality show afraid of reality. It's ironic, isn't it? A reality show afraid of reality. Sister Wives used to promise insight into a faith-based lifestyle rarely seen on mainstream television. It was awkward, emotional, messy, and that was the point. People tuned in to see truth, not perfection. But now, years in, the show often feels like a performance. A play where the audience knows the ending but keeps watching, hoping the actors will finally break character. Tamron Hall's dismissal felt like the producers choosing the illusion over the reality. Instead of embracing uncomfortable truths, they opted for easier sound bites. Instead of facing the music, they changed the station. Kody's world, we're just watching it. Let's not ignore the obvious. Much of the tell-all tension begins and ends with Kody Brown. His resistance to accountability is now practically a character trait. Ask him a direct question, and you'll get a metaphor, a monologue, or a tear-filled lament about betrayal and unfairness. Tamron didn't allow the usual dodging. She didn't co-sign his revisionist history or let him sidestep how his actions have hurt Mary, Janelle, and Christine. She treated him not like the star of the show, but like a participant who needed to answer for years of emotional whiplash. And that's what made her different. Kody's discomfort with Tamron's questions wasn't subtle. He squirmed. He deflected. He acted offended, not by the question, but by the fact that he was expected to answer it. And when he couldn't talk his way out of it, the narrative shifted to making Tamron the problem. When accountability feels like an attack. What Tamron did wasn't radical, it was journalism. But in the insulated world of reality television, where stars often expect to be both the victim and the hero, her honesty landed like a bombshell. We're not just watching the collapse of a plural marriage, we're watching the collapse of any effort to meaningfully engage with that collapse. And when someone like Tamron comes along and refuses to participate in the cover-up, she's suddenly too harsh, too direct, call it what it is. A good fit. A system that punishes truth-telling because it threatens the safe fantasy of the show. Tamron challenged the mythology. She reminded viewers that this is supposed to be reality TV, not a carefully constructed memory book with selective entries. Tamron's exit equals a missed opportunity. Her brief presence showed just how much potential the tell-alls still have. Imagine a future where these specials weren't just awkward reunions, but meaningful deep dives. Where cast members could speak with clarity and honesty. Where hosts weren't afraid to follow up with a tough question. Tamron could have been the bridge between the viewers and the story. She had the poise, the backbone, and the empathy. But instead of building on that moment, the show reverted to safer ground. Back to platitudes, evasions, and overproduced recaps. Tamron Hall deserved better. Not just because she's a respected journalist, but because she offered the franchise a chance to evolve, to treat the audience like grown-ups who care about truth more than spin. Viewers deserve more. We spent years watching these families rise and fall. We've laughed with them, cried for them, and yes, criticized them. But we stuck around because there was something real in the mess. Now, with every watered-down tell-all, it's like the show is asking us to forget what we've seen, to pretend Robyn's tears erase a decade of tension, to accept Kody's monologues as growth instead of guilt-dodging, to act like Mary's pain was just a plotline instead of a lived experience. Tamron Hall refused to play along. She reminded us that the viewers matter, that truth matters, and that's exactly why she's gone. Final thoughts: you can't have it both ways. Sister Wives is at a crossroads. It can continue to protect the image of certain cast members and dilute the story until it's unrecognizable. Or it can embrace the full weight of its journey, messy, painful, unresolved, and treat the audience with the same respect Tamron Hall did. Because here's the truth: if a reality show can't handle reality, then what are we even watching? Tamron Hall was never the problem. She was the mirror. And what the cast, and maybe even the producers, saw in that mirror was something they weren't ready to confront. But we saw it, and we're not going to forget.